Good morning, guys. We're going to talk about sourcing strategies. A couple of thoughts that I have are every single major company that you talk to, the way they get inventory is they have a buyer. Most companies have a person and their job is to bring inventory into the company. So if you work for TJ Maxx or Marshalls, you're working directly with the manufacturers. You're typically writing a check up front for all the inventory. That's how TJ Maxx, Ross, and Marshalls, that's why they're leading. They're the top resellers in the world. Ross is actually particularly number one. And Dollar Tree is like pretty high up there. Dollar Tree and Ross crush everybody because they're getting inventory at 90, 95% off directly from the manufacturer. That's the highest level. You can source directly from them. You can source from TJ Maxx, Marsh, Ross. They will sell to you direct, but 90% of their inventory is under $12. I didn't know that. But if you go through Ross, it's pretty obvious. Most of it is garbage. Really, you would not be able to sell any of it online because the shipping cost would kill you. Dollar Tree is the same too. I think the average person spends $20 at Dollar Tree, even though it's only $1 per item. So you go in there, buy a whole bunch of stuff. So buyer is the most common way to do this. Next idea would be scouts. The scouts are, I think, pretty interesting because I would consider a scout a non-commercial deal. So let's say Andrew hired somebody to call every single video game shop, local and commercial, across the nation, and paid the person 50 cents a game. I would consider that a scout because it's not a commercial deal. They're just hunting. Or if that person called every single pawn shop in America and asked for games, that would be huge because pawn shops have hardly any walk-in traffic, and some of them sell on eBay, but usually not for really cheap stuff. So that's how my friend Prince got started. Was he bought every GoPro from every pawn shop in America from home with no car. So got to 700 grand a year with no car, just GoPros, buying from pawn shops. Okay, so that would require, like, all of these methods require understanding shipping for that specific model. So in Andrew's case, it's interesting. He also drove to some sales, which makes sense. We could drive to a liquidation or to save on that pallet cost, or even better, save on the time that it costs for them to palletize something. You could just go get it if they have it available. So buyers and scouts are the two that are, I think, the most common. Another thing that you could hire scouts to do is Goodwill, the Goodwill bins. I think it would, or Goodwill thrift, Goodwill retail. I think, this from my experience, you could find 2 to 5 items per thrift store that are $15 profit or higher. After doing the math, it looks like if you sell clothing and your ASP is under $25 an hour, $25 an item, you definitely make less than minimum wage, which is $15 an hour. So if you sell clothing and your ASP is under 25, if you calculate shipping, the items that don't sell, listing, all of that stuff ends up being like $5 an hour if your ASP is under 25. Now here's the good thing. Every dollar above 25 is usually directly added to your hourly. So if you had a $60 ASP, then you're making like $35 an hour. Or more, maybe $40 an hour once your ASP starts going higher. So anyway, you could hire a scout to go to the Goodwill bins, Goodwill retail. Next idea would be if you had an inbound center to get items to come to you. This would be like Buffalo Exchange. If you had a consignment shop. So Buffalo Exchange would be the model of paying up front. Consignment would be paying after it sells. Those are two major ones. So buyers is this, you're hiring someone, let's see. Buyer hiring someone to talk directly to corporations, directly to companies. Scouts, pawn shops, Goodwill retail, inbound center. Then you could also do a sales agent. This person, well, hold on, let me see. like I'm going to change it to wholesale sales agent. This person is looking for wholesale for you. So they would be calling companies, asking the question, who is in charge of product? Like who's in charge of retail product? Then going through the process of, hey, do you have a brick and mortar, etc. So that person's calling, basically cold calling. And that works better if you have a brick and mortar. So that might require a brick and mortar partnership. If you look at Watch Me Amazon, I would say he's the king of Instagram sales at 12 million a year. All of that is because he had brick and mortar relationships before he started reselling. He worked for that company, making minimum wage, partnered with that company. The company screwed him out of the money, got a different partner. That partner screwed him out of his money. And his third partnership is money only. And that guy can't screw him because doesn't know anything about the business. Very cool story. If you guys go to what is that show called? I'll find it. Somebody remind me later. There's an interview with him where he like a non-reseller related interview where he goes over this story of he realizes that you can't get wholesale unless you have a brick and mortar. Unless you like, it's just really hard versus if you have a nice brick and mortar, it's really easy. So the wholesale sales agent, true wholesale, is you can get an inbound center where items come to you. You can do scouting. Another idea is ads. You can post ads. I'd say Nextdoor, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. Post ads for wanted stuff. You could also work with realtors for clear out. Realtors. This is for home cleanouts. If you're in the home clean out business, you should also understand the trash removal, recycling. Most of the money in that is involved in cleanouts. You can make a fortune in cleanouts, way more than reselling. Way better business if you're looking at it just money wise. Then how you determine which one of these you want to do is you figure out your hourly rate that you want. Your hourly rate. Whatever the hourly rate is, if you sell one-offs, your hourly rate is sort of the amount that you sell the item minus the cost of goods sold. That's just like a rough idea. If you sell replenishables, it's very different. So replenishables versus one-off. Okay. We should also talk about a CRM. So people should be determining how they're going to store all of these contacts. CRM is, I think, customer. What does CRM stand for? Customer relationship management. Some kind of tool to keep track of everything. Okay, that's it. Sorry, I'll shut up now. If you guys have different ideas for sourcing, maybe we'll just go around the horn and talk about different ways people source. Let's start with William. William, you also mentioned your friend on a previous call.
Yeah, well, that's kind of just how it started. I just pretty much, yeah, I go to his house, I scan through his games. Another thing that I do is in my area, it's a lot of mom and pop shops. So I do try to like talk to them because they don't really have a lot of people that go in there. They're usually like local thrift stores, things like that. And especially now since they're closed, I would try to call them to see if at least they're there doing like bookkeeping or anything like that to see if they have any games there that they're just not selling because nobody's in there.
You can also ask about overstock.
Okay.
There's a toy store here that I'm trying to get them to sell me all their overstock. So it's interesting. So yeah, you ask about specific inventory, then ask about overstock because you might find a new category if there's something that they're selling that's super cheap. Great idea. Local mom and pop. And then friends and family, we should probably have some scripts because I mean, not everyone, but some people have a rich uncle. That's definitely a thing. Go through all your family members and take all their stuff. Let's go with Alex. Alex, I don't know you. What's going on? Where do you live? What do you sell?
I live in Indiana, um, an hour north of Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I sell cell phones mostly, and I actually have a company with one of my friends where we sell um, plus size swimsuits. We
Awesome.
bought we bought 10,000 of them from a guy who was running it out of his basement, and then he passed away, and so his son was left with all of them. So we bought them all for 9,000.
How did you find that?
The son is my wife's boss.
Wow. Okay. That's a friends and family type deal.
Yeah, it's really good, but this is a lot of suits to go through.
Mm-hmm. Are any of them, I'm sure some of them have more than one of the same
Yeah,
style. Okay. That helps a lot.
yeah. They normally have between like 2 and 12 per style and size. So
Is South Bend in Indiana?
yeah.
Okay. So I just sold a Vice from South Bend, and the machinist, I shipped it incorrectly. So the handle was bent when he got it. So he's like, dude, if you can get anything that's made locally, I will buy it. I know all the machinist shops. So maybe also local manufacturers. I
Mhm.
haven't put this on my list, but that's something that you can maybe think of. I don't um, know any ways to get local manufacturers, but that seems people love USA made if we can somehow get that going.
Yeah.
And how
Uh,
are you looking to source new inventory, Alex?
I normally post Facebook ads. I mean, ads on like Marketplace that says like, "Hey, I'll pay cash for your phones," like old used phones. But I haven't been doing that lately, just because I feel like meeting up with people is kind of probably frowned upon now because we're in like a quarantine. Um, so I've just been listing the swimsuits.
Okay, let's go with Andrew. Andrew, good morning. What are you working on as far as sourcing?
Good morning. I've been doing some sourcing on OfferUp actually, but
Okay.
now I had a problem yesterday. I got my package and I had bought 11 games from someone and there was 10 in the package. And I messaged him and he said, "Oh yeah, I forgot that game was scratched. I didn't send it." So I asked him, "Well, how do you want to take care of it without, how do you want to take care of it?" And he messaged back, "Oh, all sales are final." So I put a claim in. Now, does anybody know about OfferUp and how that works with claims and with shipping with them?
Let's look. It looks like offer up protection. They have arbitrage. So it's covered if there's an item is incorrect or missing, which is
Right.
great.
And he said in the chat, like, yeah, I just didn't put it in.
Yeah,
So
you're,
I mean,
you're
I don't
yeah,
think
you
that's a problem.
yeah, you should be good. That's just like one of those like scenarios where he's gonna lose no matter what you send back to him. Not that you should
Right.
take advantage of that, but that's saying you
Mhm.
didn't send something intentionally, you're gonna lose that case.
Right. Today I'm just working on calling some suppliers, calling some distributors. mm, Basically, actually what you said about the scout is kind of interesting. I could really use some of this scout stuff and just call places. Like, I'd be even willing to cut a deal on like a per game. Say if you can scout this game, I would pay you X amount.
Mm-hmm.
When I know you can buy it retail for $2 or $3, whatever, I would pay you five. Like basically it's, you know, that would be something because I don't have time to sit on the phone all day and call people. So
One more
that's
thought on that is if you hire a scout, you actually get a higher ASP because scouts usually work on commission.
mm-hmm.
It's the same as if you have an inbound, like for example, if you have a thrift store, rarely are people going to donate $30 plus items to you. But if you have a consignment or a Buffalo Exchange, people will bring in more expensive stuff because they want more money. So it's an interesting thought. But yeah, a scout. Also, you could get a virtual assistant to scan local sites for you, offer up Mercari, Poshmark, everything. You get them to scan everything and also compare it for you on eBay.
Right. And directed at like William, I was going to tell him too, like you kind of have to know what the market is, what people are paying for stuff. Like we had, I'm sending him a bunch of games, and my average cost price on a game is under 30 cents. Like, and I know you're probably sourcing them at higher price, but like I would never source that at a higher price because, that's how you have to make money. You have to get down to, you have to be the last guy, you can't be, you have to get straight to the direct, source of it. So.
That's right. Let's go with Shani. Shani, good morning. What are you doing for sourcing or plans?
I don't need to source for one thing right now, but I do have a relationship with the thrift store. She just gave me a bag of jewelry, which is the Brighton jewelry, and it's been selling. So that's kind of it's an easy sell. But mainly I did it for the relationship, just to kind of say, give her some cash. And then that way, if something, in fact, she just texted me and she said, if some good, profitable items come in, I'll let you take them. So I don't really want to get into consignment because I do a good job scouting for myself. I like this idea, what you said though, a scout. I think that's what I am. I think I should get paid to do that because I can call people. I'll ask for anything. Like I was thinking about Andrew, if Andrew told me what he needed, I could find it. I just feel like that's my my talent. So anyway, so again, 15 items a day still is what I'm doing, and it's working, and that's what I'm going to do today.
Shani, you remind me of a story. One of the people the 5 people that I want to influence me the most is Gary Keller. And he said, people always tell me they have trouble finding someone that can do something. And one of my superpowers is I can find someone to whistle to work no matter what job it is.
Oh,
so I was
okay.
like,
Yeah.
wow, that is a superpower because you can take some janitorial job and find somebody that loves it.
Right.
So
I
I
think of it as a matchmaker. I've always called myself like a matchmaker, from Fiddler on the Roof, except it's not about, it's more about like you like to do this and I know somebody that needs that service. So that's kind of, yeah, I wish there was a job for that because I could totally do that job, but it works for me when I'm trying to get what I need. Cause I usually can get whatever I need. So I wish I could figure out a way to help people to do that for them, for other people. It'd be good to help other people with that superpower.
That is called a connector in some books. That's a good good thing to be called when you need something. Fortunately, I should be grateful. People ask me for stuff all the time. That's very odd. So, yeah.
They ask you for, what do you mean? They ask you
like, hey, I found this tractor. What do I do? It's like, can you do that's like, yeah. But yeah, the being connector is a good thing.
Okay.
People ask you for wedding advice, for relationship advice, where to get stuff, how to get rid of. There's a lady who used to be in the call named Stephanie, and in her town, everyone calls her before they call the estate sale company. She's known in the town as the person that can make sure that you don't get screwed by the estate sale company. So she's the pre-reseller call, which is good.
Yeah.
And then her family manufactures things. So you want to combine multiple circles to get the best connecting thing. Let's go with Don. Don, top sourcing ideas.
Oh, good morning. Yeah, for me, buying in bulk, auctions and, recyclers, liquidators, that's been the best way for me to do it. Just not having a lot of time to source, since I have a full-time job. That's been really good for me. And then I'm trying to focus on some multi-quantity items and buying obsolete items that have been recently that are recently obsolete. Like I bought a bunch of these docking stations that are, these people, I don't know where the liquidator gets these items, but they're supposed to dispose of lots of items, and they might have 50 docking stations. And, and I've been buying things like that so I can just spend the time listing once. That works out. So I don't have to, just take one nice set of photos and then just keep selling the same item. That's been working pretty good. My favorite are the garage sales. I love doing that. That's more like a vacation now. When I get some time to actually go out, if I have a Saturday that nothing's going on, and hitting the garage sales, the profit margin on that stuff is huge, but it's not a good use of time as far as like making that my main sourcing, but that's just pure fun. And another thing for me is now work in sales here in Silicon Valley, and so there's a lot of companies that are going out of business, and so I'm always stopping by these places, and they're giving away, not giving away, but they're selling items for 10 cents on the dollar a lot of times, and you can get a lot of industrial equipment and things just for a good price, just because they're liquidating. Sometimes they don't even care. Their things are going back to the landlord.
You just mentioned the number one source, which I forgot that it's like very obvious, which is recycling. Especially electronics recycling. Companies, when they turn over, especially companies that are doing well, turn over their equipment every year, every 2 years, and then they deal with one person. Brooks, who's in the group, does $100,000 a month in sales with zero inventory cost. It's all recycling. So he's required to wipe all the personal data, which is really expensive, kind of. And then, so it's all labor, but no cost of goods. That goes back to Andrew, going straight to the source. But yeah, that's a big one. Recycling, liquidation, also salvage, which is insurance companies. They will sell you stuff for basically free. I remember, speaking of salvage, there's two. One, I heard of a repo company would sell you all the stuff that was in the car when they repossessed it. It was like $2 per 50 pounds. It was like ridiculously cheap. It was like, cars come in, we take everything out of them, put it in a pile. You take the pile for $20, and then it gets whatever auctioned off, right? During so auctions, government auctions, state auctions, school auctions, more ways to get inventory.
Yeah, I love auctions too, but just buying in bulk, auctions, they'll sell a whole shelf of stuff, and it's just been a great single source for multiple items.
Sounds good. Let's go, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I forgot about dropshipping, but let's talk about different ways you source items.
Well, I have software. First, I use a software from Zen Arbitrage to find books. Mm-hmm. So the software finds books, and basically finds the books that have good selling rate ranks on Amazon. I buy those books, and then I send them into FBA, and then they sell. Good profit there. And then I also do drop shipping as well. Drop shipping is is a little bit risky. You have to know which brands not to list, because some brand holders are very particular. They don't want they don't like resellers. A lot of them don't like retail drop shippers, so you have to be pretty careful. But it's a lot to it.
We've already got the 28 different ways to source. This is exciting. So drop shipping, you definitely need to use some software. You probably need some experience with VAs. And then also, I don't know I guess I'd call it online arbitrage, where you go from one site to another. That's
right. Right. And if you can get software, but a lot of times the good software costs a lot of money. We're talking a lot of money, hundreds of dollars, to be able to find those items, because those items, the prices change, and then the vendor, they'll go in and out of stock, but you're on the hook. If somebody buys something, you've got to be able to fulfill it. So that software always has to be, even with it being scraped like every 15 minutes, it's going through, hundreds or thousands of items and scraping every single item. You're on the hook to be able to get that item to the customer. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like find the more popular items, and then I want to take them and I have a prep center for this. So going back to the books, I have a prep center where I get all my books going to a prep center, and then the prep center takes all those books out, unpacks them all, and then sends them to FBA. So what I'm thinking I want to do is I want to like transition my business, and I want to have all those items that I was drop shipping or the more popular ones, buy them, send them to the warehouse, and then have them either sent FBA and then that's kind of a more legitimate way of doing business in the eyes of like Amazon and.
Okay. Let's go with Alex. Alex, good morning. I don't know if you can chat. Alex might be somewhere. He's frozen. Let's go with Susan. Susan, good morning. I don't know you yet. Where do you live and what do you sell?
Hey, I'm Susan. I'm in Nashville. This is my first time on the call. Right now, I'm just on Poshmark, and I'm teetering towards getting into eBay, so I'm really grateful to be here. And right now, I have a little bit of a backlog of things, so I figured I'd do the 10-day challenge that you've listed. I like that idea, and I figured that'll get me through the rest of April. And since I'm in one of these southern states that looks like it might be opening up, that'll probably time me right, so I think I might be able to start sourcing again, but I don't know. I've already kind of laid a foundation, and I figure that's one of the items I think on the 10-day challenge is to reach out to different suppliers. So that'll probably help me secure some of the conversations I've been having with folks as far as, hey, how about I come back and pick up that stuff from you, or et cetera. So
I wonder if you could host a Posh and Sip and just buy inventory. Because most of the Poshmark sellers I know are just people who like shopping. Most of it is their own stuff. Like they're just reselling their own closet. So that's interesting. And I wonder about those events because I've been to many Posh and Sips and there's almost no information on how to improve your Poshmark business. But there's a lot of conversation on style, trends, what they like. So maybe I can just host my own, but bring everything in your car. Just cash you out. I wonder if that would work. Also, I asked Poshmark sellers what they could afford for a course, and the average came in at $9. When I did eBay, it was like they would pay several $100s for really good information. So very different. That's 2 Starbucks.
Good insight. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, let's go with Matt. Matt, good morning. Sourcing ideas. I also donation bins comes up when I think of you.
Yeah, that's one. I thought of. Sorry, it's kind of windy out here. It's making me cry. But I think it would be good to develop a system for payout for your scouts. Now, when it comes to something like what Andrew does with video games, he wants very few specific SKUs. Clothing, there's hundreds of thousands of items that you would buy. So how do you figure out what to pay the scout per item? Now, I'm thinking Sellhound, a percentage of the price on Sellhound. That seems like it would be the best way to do it. Do you trust Sellhound pricing enough to do that?
I think so. I think 20% of Sellhound, less shipping.
Okay.
I'm almost 100% comfortable for that. So let's say I do a Posh meetup and or scouts show up. Like I'm gonna pay you 20% of what Sellhound says what it is, less shipping. And Sellhound's nice because it'll pull up multiple websites. It'll pull up Poshmark too, give people an idea of what it's selling for, and then cash. Like if I was hiring somebody, I would be comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one time I used Sellhound briefly, and I didn't really care for it, but I get the appeal of it. It was probably really good, but it priced a pair of Tommy Bahama silk pants at $30 before shipping, so that would be $6. You would pay $6 for a pair
right.
of Tommy Bahama silk pants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And hope that
Good.
that's good enough.
Yeah. Now that seemed a little high to me, but then I listed a pair of H&M button fly men's jeans, and it came up as like $8. So, something else I thought of. It's kind of difficult to find really high ASP stuff out here.
Mm-hmm.
So either I could get really, really good at sorting. I don't know. I'd have to do it online if I wanted high ASP used goods. I have somewhat of a good connection now with real estate people in my super local area. That would be nice to pursue. And another thought that I just thought of, let's say you're doing real estate clean out stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going in and you're getting all of the good stuff, and then somebody else comes in and removes all the junk, right? And then at a certain point you realize I need to start removing all the junk so I can make that money too. And you start doing that. And then at a certain point you're like, well, damn, I got to hire someone to clean up after all of this and get it rent ready. And then, you know, you just keep going until you're eventually the rental agency renting out 100 different properties.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it stop? Where do you, what is a good measure to know where to draw the line on where to stop pursuing that? Because like if you're Coke or Pepsi, it makes sense to become a plastic manufacturer also, because you're using so many plastic bottles.
Yep.
Now where does it stop?
It stops when you have somebody to run that department. So that's what happened with when Gary Keller was talking about growing his business. He wanted to start a real estate company, and he's like, well, what do we do? Regular residential or commercial? And so he's like, I don't know how to do commercial. So he hired Keller to do, or I'm sorry, Keller Williams. Williams did commercial. He did residential. Commercial went out of business. So that company went out. He bought that partner out, and then he continued. And now Keller Williams is like a franchising company. They're now a tech company. There used to be a real estate company. Now they teach people how to franchise, and they own that part of it. So when they did that, they hired a person to be in charge of tech. And then that franchising was now bigger than the residential. So for you, if you were doing estate cleanouts, and they were like, okay, you want to be the trash guy, takes it to the dump, you'd have to get a totally different person to do that. That's how they grow those crazy things. Oh, he calls it vertical. Yeah, departmentalize.
Yeah. All right.
But I feel like those junk trucks, that's like a really solid business to start, because you just get cash flow right away. You don't have to. Some businesses take a while to sell. Those don't. You open up a clear out business. All you have to do is be cheap when you're starting. People will use you. And you can be the one moving the stuff, I guess.
Yeah. And another thing, you know, you find a lot of valuable stuff. You have to have it'll kind of force you to have a network of people that you can use to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah. Amazon is making the most money from Amazon Web Services, which is not even, that's like photo hosting. It's not even related to their company. It just came up, so like it's pretty insane what you run into a business. Let's go with Liz. Liz, good morning. Sourcing ideas.
Oh, well, I'm loving absorbing what everybody's offering. And I haven't really probably even finalized pursuing my local community. I'm still listing, like Susan said, I'm listing my overflow and driving probably for me right now. I've got the Poshmark community, as you indicated, Chris. I think there's a lot of overflow in that world. And I'm in contact with a lot of the Orange County gals that have been, on Posh from the beginning, and a lot of them are retail, or they do the wholesale, and so they have new tags. And I'm really formulating a plan to reach out to some of the top sellers and take some of their overflow, because they do nothing but new tags, and I've got room for new tags in my closet, and I think I can move some of their stuff that they've forgotten about. Their garage is full, and I don't even think they realize They don't, been interesting because there's a lot of strategies with Poshmark. It's like relisting. And I was talking to Shani earlier, relisting is a thing on Poshmark. It's not on eBay, I know, but some of the gals that do know with tags, that's all they've done. They don't know brands. I mean, one of the gals is on Facebook just struggling, trying to do thrifting. And I'm like, why? Stay with what you got. But she said it's dying. But her world is dying. The people don't want to buy new. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I'm thinking about trying to reach out to her and get some of the stuff she's, forgotten about that she listed maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and see if she'll give it sell it cheap, at least at this point. And just, I think there's more room for, like you said, working on the apps. And I think for me, that's probably the best. Right now, I'm not in a position to go out, and buy out a Macy's like Andrew did, I'm not there yet. I'm still having fun, I guess. And so I'd like to just keep exploring it in the world I'm in. And so, I'm willing to drive to Phoenix. I'm willing to drive to LA. What else am I going to do? we're all sitting around at some level. So, and I'm also like, who was it saying that I'm thinking by the end of April, Vegas is going to be open, hopefully, at least at some capacity, start opening up.
I think so. I think they're going to start testing some gradual opening. Mm-hmm. In China, they've reopened and people are starting to get sick again. So it's making a weird situation. I think it'll be limited. Yeah. Cool. Let's go to Karen. Karen, good morning. Thank you for joining. Sourcing Ideas.
Good morning. I source primarily through just retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. I haven't had any problem with sourcing so far.
Okay.
But I'm new.
Fair enough. I would say that one thing I've noticed, I added your tip of reviewing my day to the morning now. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm reviewing that week, what I wrote in my journal. And I'd like to review that week, that month, that, a year ago, whatever, at some point. But also, you had mentioned that you watched a gazillion YouTube videos. Now, if you had watched a gazillion YouTube videos on one subject, you would have been an expert and you wouldn't have been confused. But if you start watching, like what we just mentioned in this call is totally not actionable. There's like 30 different ideas so far. You'd have to put all the energy into one idea. And actually, every single model works. You just have to be good at it, which is annoying. If only one worked, we could just pick that. But there's people successful in all of them.
I've watched videos on different topics. So when you start as a reseller, you have to understand something about shipping. So how do I do shipping? So I learned about shipping that way, or I learned about the difference between the various platforms, which one better, that helped me decide which one would be better suited to what I wanted to do. So, yeah.
Okay, let's go with June. June, good morning. How are you thinking about sourcing?
Hi, good morning. Sourcing for me is not a problem. I'm in Los Angeles, so there's just a lot overflowing over here. To a lot of people in Facebook Marketplace. I used to do couponing also, but I don't feel those things so well, and the arbitrage thing. And then just right now I have a lot of stuff. I don't worry about that for a long time, probably.
Okay. April, we don't have video. No worries, but hopefully you can chat.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
You sound great.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for this call. Yeah, I'm one of the people that really needed it. I've only been on the call for a few weeks now. That I came in as like the hobby consumer seller. And it's just, I don't want to do that anymore. I actually don't want to be in thrift stores anymore as a business. So the last few days, I've really just been looking at liquidation and wholesale sites. And that's really more actually been me figuring out what I want to try to source, not necessarily finding a particular site everyone already knows about B stock and pretty much all the ones I've looked at. I'm trying to find some local liquidation warehouses when we hopefully reopen at the beginning of May here in Michigan. I'm not sure, because I just wanted to say a little side note. I'm not talking about listing right now because I don't know about Karen. Detroit's having some real problems. I had major shipping issues this weekend. So I actually put my Poshmark closet on hold and have not been actively listing on eBay. So just having some, what I consider, some quiet time to figure out a better source, like a sourcing site for me, is really nice. But I don't really have any better suggestions that have what have been said so far. Sorry.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's go with Daniel.
Good morning, everybody. As you know, I mainly do estate sales, so I'm still doing online estate sales. There's one in particular that she does Instagram Live. So I picked up some stuff yesterday, and I'm gonna do really well on it. I paid $40 for all this camera stuff, which it was a film person, so I knew it was gonna be good. So I got like 4 cameras, 4 lenses, a camcorder, and a vintage film camera. And after I looked some stuff up, and the lenses, vintage lenses, because a lot of times cameras are broken, but the lenses resell for a lot, particularly Canon and Nikon stuff. Another thing that came up yesterday, you mentioned like a rich uncle. My sister, my brother-in-law is actually quite wealthy, so he grew out of all of his vintage like stuff, like it's all name brand stuff. So she said she was going to send that to me. And another thing with I post on my Instagram like my adventures and on estate sales, and a lot of people really enjoy that. So buying from friends has definitely done well for me. Like I bought out a friend's entire toy collection, and he had like Transformers, and one of them was like super rare. It was like $500. So definitely sharing what you do with your circle so that people know that you're willing to buy their stuff that's just sitting in their house. And neighbors, I used to do this last year. Like I met a neighbor in her driveway. I told her what I bought. I went through her house. I bought a bunch of stuff. She referred me to somebody else. I went to their house. They referred me to somebody else. So, but I stopped buying, so that totally died out. But I'm definitely going to look into that, maybe through Nextdoor. And eBay, as I've been listing stuff, I've been noticing, like particularly with like old electronics or stereo equipment, the selling price varies so much. Sometimes over $100 for the same working item. Just maybe somebody has really bad lighting in their pictures, but you can still tell it's in good condition if you look closely, or maybe they don't have a lot of feedback. And I have like a lot of feedback and really good feedback. I didn't want to share that yesterday. I reached power seller level, which I was really happy about. I thought I was going to have to wait another 3 months. So eBay, I'm going to run a bunch of saved searches and keep my eye out on certain things that have a really high sell-through rate, and I know that if I get them at a certain price, I can flip them for a decent profit.
I need to add that to the tip. The saved searches is huge. And also, I'm going to be really, really aggressive with friends and family. And just my first offer is going to be give it to me. I'm not going to offer. So I think that's going to work too, because I'm just going to say, look, I'm trying to build a business. You're not using it. I want it. One more thought on that is actually, I'll save my thought. Let's go with Brian. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. A couple thoughts. First, on the notes, I really like that. Like my full-time job, I'm an educator, and I used to be the AVID coordinator at my campus. It's a program that takes kids from disadvantaged economic situations, and it supports them and pushes them the goal is to college, and there's scholarships, and there's supports built in. And when you guys were talking about the notes, I was like, well, duh. There's a note system that we teach. It's called the Cornell Notes. And it's research based, because basically what they say is when you take notes, you only remember about 40% of what you take if you just take them and don't go back to them. But if the research also shows if you go back to those notes within 24 hours and re-engage, reread them, highlight, do something with them, that retention rate goes up to 70%. If you do it a third time within a week, it's practically 100%.
Wow.
So it kind of makes me think, and it's ironic that, I teach this, but I wasn't even implementing it. So, I mean, it's basically the same thing. And the way the Cornell notes are, you divide your paper, the biggest chunk on the right is your notes. And on the left side, you write questions that you have during the lecture or whatever you're reading, whatever the material is you're engaging with. And on the bottom section, you write a summary at the end. And so I was kind of thinking about that in the perspective of what we do, because this is content, it's the same format. And so I'm sitting here like a lot of other people with my notes. I hadn't been engaging with it. And when we ask questions, that's kind of the question part. So I've also decided I'm gonna go back each day over the previous one and go back, reread it, take notes, and then at maybe the Monday, go back over the whole one from the last week. So anyway, I think that's really good. I'm glad y'all brought that up. And as far as sourcing, it's kind of interesting. Like, I know as far as I'm concerned, like I've kind of gone through different stages, starting with garage sales and thrift stores and just kind of different things, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage. And the interesting thing is it all works. So it for me at least, it's like, well, what do you focus on? And lately, kind of like what Daniel was saying, I've been doing estate sales and also the storage unit auctions. And I love the video you had last week with the bulk auction interview you had, where the guy buys out estate sales and he's got the whole sorting system and the different tiers to move the merchandise. And I think for me that would be the ultimate goal. But I'm gonna have to build up to that. Like right now, like tomorrow I'm picking up. I did an online auction estate sale. Like I'm picking up a lot of about 250 books that I won for $20. And the thing is, it had like it showed a bookshelf and like 2 shelves were filled with Bibles, leather Bibles. And some of these leather Bibles are worth a whole lot of money. So buying that in bulk, I'll process it. Some of the books probably won't be worth much. I'll donate them or whatever and cherry pick. So I think for me, like short term is to keep doing that. And at that same auction, I also found some collectible pieces that are worth several $100s that I was able to get for like 20, 30, 40 bucks. So it's kind of like 2 prongs for me. Is number one is to build that knowledge. So when I'm looking at these auctions, I can find an item that I can open up Worth Point or Terapeak and research and kind of learn about an item at the same time. So kind of cherry picking these items and buying in bulk to build up my capital. But long term, I've got to figure out how to scale up. I know some of my limitations are like space. My garage is almost at capacity. So I'm gonna have to get a storage unit to keep my inventory, and probably eventually a warehouse would be the ultimate situation. And then figure out like the networking and the help to implement this. So for me, I think bulk auctions is definitely the direction I want to head in.
Awesome. Yeah, that interview with Mark was really popular. He's been doing it a long time. He found 2 walkie-talkies that were worth $20,000 each in a baggage war thing, and then was raided by the government and they took them.
Oh man.
So like these FBI things that weren't supposed to get out were worth 20 grand each, and then he had them taken. It's funny, but yeah. Also, you can't list like any government agency stuff. I found out all my FBI stuff was taken down. But I didn't get a claim, Alex. They just said you can't sell this. Alex, sourcing thoughts?
Yeah, I've been sourcing on Facebook, and I like it because I get more items quicker, always usually a better deal, and I think it's good for networking. It's better for networking because I could go to thrift stores and estate sales, and estate sales I can network a little bit, but thrift stores, it's pretty lonely, and I don't really feel like I'm growing my network much, and it's a lot of time, and then all the items you buy, you have to de-tag them and everything, and so I've just been really liking Facebook, and I've been doing clothing, and clothing is just not selling, and if it does sell, it sells for like really cheap, and obviously the clothing I pick is probably could be improved, definitely could be improved, and so I'm gonna raise the bar on the type of clothing I take for sure. I like shoes. Shoes do sell really well. They just take up a lot of space, and I'm starting to run out of space. And so I need to figure out space. So at this time, I really want to focus on electronics because I think they sell faster and they sell for more. And I can sell them on Amazon a lot of times. I've been liking that a lot. So I'm going to keep sourcing with Facebook Marketplace ads. And I've been really considering trying to figure out electronics recycling and calling different places like some of the people in the group have been doing. That sounds interesting. I guess I just have to Google different businesses, try to contact them, see if they would help me, see if they would allow me to help them with their problems. Right? So right now my goal is to list all my clothes, and I'm using Sellhound, and I'm really not that fast at Sellhound yet. So at this point, I'm not super thrilled with it, but I know I'm gonna get better at it. So we'll see. The main thing is like listing the item after I take pictures and like send the draft to them. When they send me the draft back, I feel like I end up doing a lot of the same stuff that I normally do on the eBay app to like make sure the draft is good. So it's not really saving me that much time. I think I'm about breaking even. Like I list probably like 4 or 5, 6 items more per hour, but it cost me $36 for all the listings for that hour. So maybe I'm going ahead a little bit, but so I'm gonna keep keeping track of that, keeping track of how long it's taking, seeing if I can improve it. And I also just the listings. I don't know if they're as good as the listings that I'm able to put up myself. So just figuring that out. That's what I'm up to.
I have one more thought for everyone, and we're going to end the call on this one, which is the concept of what to do with the extra money. So this is a weird thing that most people don't think about because they think that they're not earning enough money. But you could figure out how much money you need for the rest of your life, and then the additional money, according to Gary Keller, says you have a responsibility to do something with that. So you see a lot of like wealthy people are spending all their money before they die, putting it in the schools or whatever. So anyway, my point is, if you had an overall objective to do something with the money afterwards, it can help you stay on track, and it also help you think bigger, and it also make it easier to build these long-term relationships, because people who are really wealthy look for deals like that. They're not necessarily looking for deals for money. They already have money. They're looking for something bigger than that. So as an example, I met this gentleman when I sold Lexus that made $700,000 a month after tax per month. And his family lived on $6,000 a month the entire time. Like, he's like, I already have enough money. $6,000 pays our bills. But he's like, it's actually not a small amount of money because everything is paid for in cash. So we don't have any bills. So $6,000 is actually somewhat lavish considering we own everything already. But the income has grown every single month to the point where it's almost $1 million a month. It's all donated, and they'll die broke. So they're not going to wait. It's not going to be used after they're going to use it all in their lifetime. So if you have that kind of concept when you're earning money, like for example, I was thinking about raising $5 million for, I can't really think of the cause. My first cause is thinking like Children's Hospital or something, and then going and saying, look, I'm not going to pay you for the inventory, but all the inventory you give me, I'll put 20% eBay Giving Works. So the money will just go to them directly out of the sale. The only thing I don't like about that is they charge you even if they don't pay. This is very annoying. I don't like that about eBay Giving Works. If you do an auction that ends at $100 and you do 10%, they charge you the 10% regardless if the person pays. So that's the only downside of using eBay Giving Works. You have to file a claim to get your $10 back, and who wants to do that? Who wants to tell a charity to give you $10 back? I don't want to do that. I just want to get paid before I give them the $10. Anyway, it's just an interesting thought, reverse way of thinking. So think about how much money you need to live, and then because all of these wealthy guys I'm meeting, they've already made more money than they can spend, but they don't stop working. So they just, and typically they're really generous, not Scroogey, from my experience, because you usually don't get to that position being Scroogey. You can get to that position taking advantage of people. I will say that, but that's a different topic for a different day. So anyway, thanks guys for the 35 plus ideas on sourcing. That's a lot. Andrew, thoughts? Oh no.
Nope.
Okay. Have a good one, guys. See you guys tomorrow.
See you, everyone.
Bye.